Welcome to Monthly Blend, January 2022. We had a wonderful year with the Monthly Blend in 2021 and had some amazing guests during the year who we got to learn a lot more about, who are leaders in the DC Metro startup ecosystem across so many different areas, from the investor side to the education side to the entrepreneur side and service provider side. And it was just really amazing to speak to these leaders across DC, Virginia, and Maryland and learn how they're all working within their different areas and across the DC metro area as well. One of the things we realized as we were getting ready for 2022, and we have an amazing group of guests who will be joining us this year as well, is that we wanted to provide an opportunity just to get to know a little bit more about the hosts of the Monthly Blend. We spend a lot of time speaking to guests and learning more about them. And we thought we would use this January session as a chance to just talk a little bit and learn a little bit more about where the Monthly Blend came from and Tien and I. So I am going to kick it off, and I am here with Tien. And Tien, it's been an absolute honor of mine to be able to host the Monthly Blend with you. We're both good friends and business colleagues and have worked together in a number of different areas. And I've really treasured the opportunity to build and co-host with you. I wanted to start off today just by giving people a chance. There are so many different ways you have been an absolute leader in driving forward the ecosystem in our area for startup and emerging growth companies. And I thought it would be great just to start off a little bit about your background and kind of what led you on a pathway to being such a driving leader in our area.
Yeah, I'd love to. But first of all, I also want to echo your sentiments and tell you it's a great honor for me and a privilege also to partner with you on the Monthly Blend. It's been a labor of love for both of us. And I feel like the feedback that I'm getting, and I know that you're getting, is nothing short of excellent in terms of opening up conversations about really super important things about bringing our region together and making this a better place to live and play and work. And it's been a fun year, and I'm looking forward to more. So thank you for having me. But my background is basically my parents are both immigrants, and I am the child of an immigrant, and both of them are entrepreneurs too. So I didn't grow up with a normal sort of corporate background where, mom and dad were, bankers at Chase or lawyers or whatever. It was definitely scrappy, and they put me in the business at a young age. So I was working in Chinese restaurant business at a very young age, and I really didn't know anything else. I mean, I played sports. I did well in school. I wound up going to a good college, and but in college, what did I do? I did study government, but I wound up having 3 businesses. So I basically found opportunities and created sort of solutions, and they're small businesses, very small, but still, kind of was a great proving ground for me. And then my first job out of college, I didn't go to Wall Street. I didn't work for a consulting firm. I started a business. Well, I joined a friend of mine, one of my really good friends, his business. So, it was just the 2 of us for a year, and that startup didn't work out. And then I came down to DC where I had done an internship in college, and I matriculated into GW Law School. Actually, I didn't matriculate. I got in, and then I didn't go. And then I got into Georgetown Law, and I deferred. And then I finally matriculated into the night program. In the meantime, I was working in commercial real estate, and I love the real estate business. But after I got into law school, I dropped out. So it was a night school. I really admire night students because they have full-time jobs, they have families, most of them, and yet they still have to go to school at night from 4 or 5 hours a night, 9 out of 10 days. So that was the program at Georgetown Law. But so I'm an entrepreneur in residence at Georgetown at the McDonough School. And that's one thing I like to tell people is like, I'm not an alum, where most of the entrepreneurs in residence are alumni, but I did matriculate. So, but I got a job in real estate, and then a couple of friends of mine came to me, and they had a business idea to basically do. The three of us were in sales, and one thing about sales back then, before LinkedIn, before email, before computers, before voicemail, you had to pick up the phone and dial for dollars, and you had to sort of create a way to get in front of a decision maker. And it's a very painful process to do this cold calling. So we said, why don't we set up a business to do cold calling? Because all three of us are in sales. We all hate cold calling. So if we hate it, everyone else must hate it. So let's get paid to do it on behalf of somebody. And this is before the term call center or outsourcing came about. And so we wound up calling some local businesses. We got very, very lucky. Within 30 days, we had a contract with Pepco, our local utility company, became an entrepreneur. Totally entrepreneurial, and we landed the deal, and we grew the business. And over 12 years, we grew it to one of the largest call center companies in the U.S., a top 10. And we were servicing telecom companies, technology companies, financial services, and a whole variety of different clients. And we sold it to a public company, a Fortune 500 company, which then wound up selling to Xerox. So at the time of our sale, we were about 80 million in revenue. And now if you add up all the units, it's close to 2.5 billion in revenue of our legacy business. So nice success there. And then after I sold the business, I basically became an angel investor and invested in a lot of deals and supported the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in the DMV, and basically created Connectpreneur. And the rest is history, just kind of supporting the environment. And now we're actually trying to buy a platform company in the CRM BPO space, call center space. And we have one that we're hopefully going to get done in the next few months. But doing that and doing Connectpreneur, and the consulting that comes with it with Opus 8 is that's what we do.
And for Connectpreneur, which has been such an asset to our ecosystem, how have you seen it evolve and grow, specifically over the pandemic, from an events business? What are some of the to this global business that it's become? Maybe you could talk just a little bit about kind of what you did. A lot of events-driven businesses were really impacted, but you've been able to really grow and expand during this period of time with Connectpreneur and its underlying impact.
Yeah, Connectpreneur was started as a networking group between entrepreneurs and founders and investors. And then we obviously had sponsors such as you guys. Thank you so much to Next and Chilton Rogers for supporting us for so many years. But in your first quarter, and then Montgomery County called us and said, hey, can you come do some in Bethesda? So we went across the river. And then we did one in Baltimore, and then we started doing them regularly in Baltimore and Montgomery County, Maryland, DC, Arlington, and Tysons, as well as Columbia, Maryland. So we're doing like 8 a year in person. Now, it took us about 8 years to get there because we're in our 11th year now. So the first few events were, really smaller, humble events, 140 people. The first one was 140, I think. The second one was like 180. And then the third one, we had to go from the Tower Club. We had to go to the Marriott Ballroom across the street because we were too big for the Tower Club. But it took a long time. And I think what we did was we were providing a really good service to the community. We were doing a good job for investors. So the investors liked our presenting companies. They were getting funded, and they were they were networking and meeting partners and finding co-founders and employees. So it was a really good event in person. And I think, probably one of the top East Coast in-person events before COVID. We had 500 to 600 people on our bigger events, and some of our more boutique events, we'd have like 300 or 350. But really high-end, high quality, great programming, good speakers, good presenters, and most importantly, a great group of people coming. And I think that that's what separates good events from not so good events. Is like the good events, they focus on quality across the board. The best sponsors, the best attendees, they don't want to have too much of one type, because then people don't want to come anymore. If you go to an event that's packed with, say, service providers. If you are an investor or a entrepreneur, you will avoid that kind of place because you don't want to get hit on the whole time. So, and then COVID hit. So that was an interesting situation. We pivoted to doing, so we had 2 weeks to figure out what we were going to do. We had a big event planned at AU in DC, American University, and we pulled the plug on that 2 weeks before the date. And then we scrambled. We basically tried all these online platforms. We picked Zoom. We learned how to use Zoom, which at the time was, really not easy because how do you use Zoom for a 300-400 person event? It's a big thing. So we figured it out, thank God. And now we're virtual. And because of that, I think, we've opened up a whole new, bunch of opportunities. So we have a global audience now. We have attendees, investors, and presenters from all over the world, from Australia, New Zealand, Israel, from Dubai, UK, Finland, Mexico, Canada, obviously, all throughout North America. So it's not just the DMV or the Mid-Atlantic region or the East Coast. It's national and even international on the presenter side. And our investors, we had 600 investors that were what I call friendly investors. So those are investors that regularly attend our events. Now we're up to 3,000. So we've quintupled the number of investors. And we have, they fill out, they're all accredited investors. They have to fill out questionnaires for us. So we know how many checks a year they write and what their check sizes are, what industries. So being able to blow out our investor community, and we try to take care of these communities. We have an investor community, we have an alumni community of 800 companies that are presented. And we do them with master classes, and thank you for doing master classes for our alumni community. But we also have expanded basically, our reach. And I think the two reasons we are successful is because one is we do meetings. So every attendee can see every other attendee and can private message with every attendee. So it's not like a webinar where it could be one person on or a million people, you just don't know. But in our case, you absolutely know because of that transparency. And I think the other benefit is we publish the names of all the attendees in the program books, and all 60 something program books are on our website. So if you ever want to see who comes, you can just pull it up and look who came on this date. And we have the list of 400 or 500 people. And now we're the largest monthly investor pitch event in the world. So it's changed. I mean, we're now building out an ambassador network. So we're going to bring in a few dozen ambassadors, hopefully including you and Lisa, to help spread the word. We're going to be going into other cities. We're looking at Atlanta, New York, Chicago, and Boston. And then we're looking at Denver, Kansas City, and LA right after that. And then hopefully we're hoping in 2023 to do a couple of 2-day conferences. We're looking at doing a healthcare conference in the Bay Area and a 2-day tech conference maybe in Austin. So we are expanding our horizons, and we have a full-time community manager, and our team has been really good about supporting us. We have a lot of people. So anyway, Connectpreneurs changed a lot. I mean, it's sort of like it was pushed on, the situation was pushed on millions of businesses, including us. And, it's how you react to it to try to figure it out. But I mean, I'll be honest, financially, we were down. Connectpreneur is not a big moneymaker because we didn't found it to be a big cash thing. We founded it to be a service to the community, but our revenues were down about 65% in 2020. So they're back up to normal, and our private business is thriving. So a lot of people in our community are now hiring us to do these private events, to access that network of investors. So we've more than made up for the degradation of revenue. So that's kind of, yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing story, and amazing how you've been able to expand and grow with all the challenges that so many people faced. And I'm very excited for all these communities that are going to be getting a Connectpreneur in these communities, just seeing how central it's been, at core it's been to our own ecosystem in helping to connect so many startups and investors and service providers and other participants in the startup ecosystem. So I think each of those cities that you named that you'll be expanding into are going to reap tremendous benefits from that as well.
Yeah, and our national sponsors like yourselves, our national partners that do business all over the US, I'm hoping that we can bring them to these markets as well, because you guys do a great job, and I mean, for what Next does, it's perfect for our community, and they really are starved for high-level legal services at a fair price, at a fixed fair price. I mean, so we're really excited about making sure that the new members of our community get to benefit from you all,
We just had a great opportunity to learn about somebody that is a true leader in our area. And thank you, Tien, for sharing a little bit about your background. People have seen you so many different places, helping out in so many different ways, and to have a chance to learn a little bit about your background and experiences is great to be able to do that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Anthony. So I get to ask you some questions now, right?
Yeah.
Great. Well, Anthony, I've known you on and off for many years, and we are business colleagues, and have highest respect for you. You are, to me, a Renaissance man. You have contacts here, Israel, China. You are a lawyer, a great lawyer. You are an entrepreneur. You've been involved in many businesses. You're a venture capitalist. And I think that probably tries to, that feeds all of the different things that you are doing. Of your portfolio of activities, what do you get most excited about? And how did you sort of tell us a little bit about your story, how you went from being an attorney to an entrepreneur to a VC back to being an attorney and all that stuff?
Sure. So I started off originally from South Africa. So similar to your family moving to the US, I was born in Johannesburg, and my family moved here just before I started high school, and have a legal and finance background by education. I started to be very interested in entrepreneurial activities at a fairly young age in high school and college, when friends of mine were getting more traditional types of jobs. I was starting some of my first businesses, including in college. I started and ran a publishing company that expanded to a few different states and schools that we were working with. From there, I went to law school and was also continued to focus on business and early stage startup related areas during that phase as well. And then went the route of kind of New York traditional corporate law, worked for a large New York law firm for a few years. And then I jumped back into the entrepreneurial world, kind of in the the early part of the .com era of the late 90s. I co-founded a technology company in the healthcare technology space, capturing information at the point of care with some of the early technology that was just starting to come out. That was a institutionally venture-backed company that we started to build. Got a lot of great lessons from that venture, including when the bubble burst and we kind of got pulled down in the .com bust of 2001. There were some great lessons both on the building side and learning in terms of things that can happen. And some of those experiences were some of the great experiences that I got that I've applied and used later. Around that time, I actually had my wife passed away from cancer at a very young age. I had two very young children at the time. And during that period of time, I got involved in helping to start a nonprofit called Lauren's Light, which is still active today. And that helps families with young children when a parent is diagnosed with cancer. And so that was kind of another very, a experience going through that and having a spouse pass away and having young children and seeing the kind of social network that was we were very fortunate in what we were able to do, but seeing the system failures for a lot of people who are in the same position and looking at how to provide for that, and have a nonprofit that could help focus on that. After that, I got involved in another startup in the for-profit education space. That was a company that, with my partner and I, we grew from two of us to about 400 employees. I was president of that company, involved in day-to-day operations of the company, and we kind of grew it up to a very sizable and one of the leading players in the space that we were in. Around that time, after that, we brought in a professional education management team who had run these big for-profit schools, and soon thereafter the company was sold, and is still around today as the leading platform in the industry in that space. And then from there, I got involved in another startup company that was focusing on China and Asia, and it was both kind of retail distribution, and I started to get very interested in getting involved in some projects at the time around climate and climate impact, and just the importance of that area. I'd also now spent a while on the company building side, and in that role, I was a consumer of legal services using a lot of large global and national law firms. And the experience of being a trained lawyer and who had practiced and an entrepreneur, now being a customer of legal services, I started to see a lot of areas that I felt there just had to be a better model for delivering legal services for startup and emerging growth companies. I felt like there needed to be more predictability during that startup and emerging growth company phase, where you're budgeting and planning for every dollar's already been planned for before you even raise it. And so being able to have more predictability, and it was kind of one area. Another area I felt was that when I looked at some of the great customer service in companies that are very customer centric, I felt that the legal industry could do a much better job at being client-centric, customer-centric in the way that it services clients. And then also I felt like people were not using technology to make things much more transparent, much more collaborative, much more efficient. And so I decided to focus my attention, and what I really wanted to do next was to really look at how the legal model could be changed to address some of those key challenges. Around that time, I was doing some work with a close friend and business associate who had launched with another partner VC fund, and I joined that fund as a venture partner. It was a company called Urban Us, which was one of the pioneers in seed stage investing in climate-driven startup and emerging technology companies across transportation, water, waste, energy, real estate. They have a very broad portfolio, and were really one of the first companies that, first venture funds focusing as a thesis on this particular area, and have had a tremendously successful track record in helping invest, identifying, and then helping these companies succeed and grow. And at that time, I also started to work on what has now become Next. And in 2016, I was very fortunate to meet some of the partners at Shulman Rogers, which is an amazing law firm, regional law firm in the DC area, but with a national and international practice that is very innovative and forward-looking, and believed that the best place to build a concept like Next would be within a law firm just like that. And so I joined at the end of 2016 with the mission of of building and growing Next. I currently serve as the founder and co-chair of Next. We've built a tremendous team, and we've really looked to innovate and change the way legal services are provided for. We've changed the way that you structure, package, deliver, service customers in the legal area. We were just recognized in 2021 by the largest legal publication as the Startup and Emerging Growth Company Law Firm of the Year in the United States, which we were really excited by. And what we've done is we offer predictable legal fees through fixed price packages and service bundles that are delivered by a team led by senior lawyers in a very high-touch, hands-on model. And we integrate a number of technology platforms to make this whole experience much more collaborative, much more efficient, and much more transparent. And we also spend a lot of time, as you know, have been building an ecosystem of other like-minded service providers who work with startup companies across insurance and banking and accounting and development, that we've kind of made it very easy for clients to do that. And we have some exciting initiatives similar to some of the new initiatives you were talking about. We have a couple of exciting initiatives that we're working on in education, in terms of education that we'll be announcing soon, and also exciting initiatives in the way we help our clients can connect with investors.
It's amazing. The way you built Next is the way I built Connectpreneur. I built Connectpreneur looking for a because there were no venues in Washington that someone like me would like. I wanted to go meet other cashed out CEOs. I wanted to meet other investors. I wanted to find deals to invest in. There was nothing. So I said, why don't we build it ourselves? And you, as a consumer of legal and having a legal background, you said the same thing. Like, I'm not getting high touch service. This is either overpriced or I can't budget for my legal costs. The delivery model's not working. They're not using tech. And you basically created a offering and a company that hits squarely at the pain point of your target audience. And that's, you guys have grown tremendously. Like give us a little idea. You've been around for like 3 or 4 years, but I mean, you've picked up dozens and dozens of new clients, right?
Yeah, since starting in 2018, we've almost doubled in size every single year through beginning in 2018. So we've had significant growth. The other thing we've seen is a growth from working initially with mostly companies just in the DC metro region, DC, Virginia, Maryland, to starting to bring in a substantial number of our clients now kind of run across the United States. And in this last part of 2021, we started to see growth globally as well, with entrepreneurs from different regions in the world looking to move into the US markets. And I think part of that growth has been driven by the experience of people going through Zoom and not feeling like they have to only work with people who are very kind of geographically close to them. We've seen a number of clients who themselves, especially startup companies, the whole distributed workforce model, and then having service providers that may be in different parts of the country has been something we've noticed as well.
Right. How big can you guys get? I mean, how much market share can you capture? There are literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of early stage companies that are potential, target clients of Next, right?
Yeah, I mean, we believe that there's a tremendous value and service that we're providing, and we see that in the feedback we receive. We see that in clients that we're working with who have kind of told us we've really solving major challenges that they've experienced, and we constantly work to improve. So we wake up every day looking at how we could be better in each area of our business, particularly in the customer service, client first model a mission that we've taken, we kind of every day wake up and look what we can learn from the day before and the week before in terms of continuing to increase and improve and enhance on the experience that we providing to our clients in all of these different areas. As far as growing, we don't have a set limit on how large we plan to be or want to be. We going to naturally follow the growth path that we're able to experience by building and taking this nationally and then internationally as well. And in terms of scale, we spend a lot of time thinking about and looking at how to scale this model. So it is something we invest a lot of time in around how to make sure that we're able to maintain the quality of service and experience as we grow. That's really the biggest driver for us is as we continue to grow, we want to be able to continue to provide in a scalable way the same kind of focus and experience that we're able to provide clients today.
No, it's a brilliant model. You guys have cracked the code. I mean, I know that we know of some startups and some other companies that have tried to disintermediate the legal profession. We've seen bigger firms try to go downstream and come up with these cookie cutter contracts that they put on their website. And of course, there's no customer service element to it. But, I think what the lesson here is probably something as custom and important as legal services, especially for startup at the very beginning of a company, is that can't be really automated, and I know that we've had some people that we know in Silicon Valley that tried to do this and they failed.
I think what's really important is the guidance that you're able to provide. So like you said before, if you're just looking for a document, you can access through Google any legal document you want to access
at your own peril.
At your own peril from a document. But what we really focus on is how to provide the guidance and the education so that when somebody is raising capital, they understand kind of the different securities they can use, the different structures, the benefits and detriments of each one, how to approach it. And providing that kind of hands-on, high-touch guidance is a big part of what we focus on doing, in addition to the legal contracts and documents that are obviously an important part of it. But that experience and that guidance is not something you can just automate. And it is something that's so critical to early stage founders, particularly first-time founders.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So in terms of this coming year, right, you guys are on a rocket ship trajectory. Are you going to continue with that trajectory? Is there anything new? You've talked a little bit about expanding, nationally and then globally. What other things do we have in store? Will we be seeing from you guys?
I mean, in each area that we working on, there's plans that we have. So in addition to kind of the geographic growth that we spoke about, that's going to be important for us in 2022, is continuing to enhance the ecosystem that we're building and the services that we're providing. So we will be.
Give us an example of that, like the partnerships you have with NASDAQ and Carta. Yeah, I think our listeners would like to learn.
Yeah, so one area that we're looking, one new area for us is we've expanded double to almost 50 ecosystem partners now in the next ecosystem. And these are different service providers who themselves focus on startup and emerging growth companies that people can easily link to through the next ecosystem. We discovered as we spoke to clients, as you hit different milestones in your journey of growth, particularly, again, if you haven't been through this several times before, like you bringing on your first employee, right? A major milestone, really exciting moment for an entrepreneur. And but there's a lot of learning new things that you have to do. There's new regulations you have to comply with. There's new management expertise and skills that you're going to start to use when you start adding employees that you didn't have to when it was just you. In each of these milestones, there are things to learn, and what we want to be able to do, and what we decided we wanted to be able to do, is to deliver real content, high quality content, educational programming around these major milestone events in building and scaling a company. So we'll be launching a education platform in partnership with a leading provider of educational content that will be announcing sometime in the first quarter. And so that's an exciting new initiative that we think is going to bring a lot of value to our startup clients and to the ecosystem. You know, another area that we're looking on is, as you know, with Connectpreneur, helping to figure out ways to connect startup companies with investors, and investors who are looking for particular startup companies is kind of critical to the ecosystem operating. And so, you know, that's another area that we're working on some initiatives that we'll be looking at how to do that in a more scalable and effective way and innovative way. So, you know, and then we'll continue to add to our broader network of partners. And finally, we're always integrating new technologies that make this client-first experience and new processes that make this client-first experience more powerful. And so that's kind of a final area that we have some new initiatives underway in.
Wow, that sounds very exciting. I mean, congratulations on all you guys have done. I mean, I think the partner ecosystem is the marketplace you're setting up is a force multiplier. We've seen that happen with the various businesses we've been involved in, and also, we're trying to do that with Connectpreneur with respect to our ambassador program too. It's like trying to create this group of advocates and people that can help the people in our community, and it will be a force multiplier. And I think that's good because you guys have been able to pivot and make the most of, as David Steinberg said when I first interviewed him in our first post-pandemic event. No one knew what was going on. David said he heard this from somebody else, saying never waste a good crisis.
Yeah.
And it looks like you guys have not wasted it. You've really thrived quite a bit. I mean, that's really kudos to you guys for doing that. And also, it's obviously, it's a great validator of the concept, the business concept. Your customers, your clients love it. It's working. You got really good product market fit,
Great. Thank you, Tien.
Well, that concludes this session. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about Anthony and myself. We really appreciate your viewership and your support of our community and the monthly blend of our podcast. And we hope you will join us in our journey this year. And we have some great guests coming, as Anthony had mentioned earlier. And we want to thank you guys for your support. So have a great year, everybody. I think there's a lot to look forward to, and I hope your businesses and your families are doing well as well. Take care.